بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of the discussion about al-Riyadah based on the 9th section of al-Isharat al-Tanbihat. We said Riyadah helps with three things. One was تنحية ما دون الحق عن مستن الإيثار. Anything which is lower than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be pushed away from our choice. This is one purpose. The other was تطويع النفس الأمارة للنفس العاقلة, to make nafs ammara obedient to nafs aqila, nafs mutmain. The third was taltif sir, to make our inner self subtle and very sensitive and very sharp. We already talked about what helps with the first one, which was zuhd. We talked about what helps with تطويع النفس الأمارة, which was al-ibadatu al-mashfu'atu bil-fikr, and also sounds, voices which are very good and reaching heart, influencing heart, and also kalaman bi-uslub and rashid. So we talked about all these things. Now we want to talk about the third one, taltif sir. We said for taltif sir we need two things. One is al-fikr al-latif, and the second al-ishq al-afif. Al-fikr al-latif wal-ishq al-afif. So today we want to explain this based on commentary by Khwajah. Already we have discussed this based on Ibn Sina's text. So if you go to Khwajah's commentary, he says al-fikr al-latif, subtle thinking or subtle contemplation, is a way of thinking that is balanced in quality and quantity. So you think about something which is not too much, too easy, too difficult, too long, too short. هو أن يكون معتدلا في الكيفية والكمية. Something which is balanced in quality and quantity. Of course, this can be different for different people. Maybe some people, for example, they can think about deep philosophical questions or mystical questions, and for them this is the balance. For some people maybe they have to gradually rise. But in any case, it shouldn't be too easy and too difficult, too short, too long. وفي أوقات لا تكون الأمور البدنية شاغلة للنفس. Also, it should be in times that bodily things, bodily affairs, would not keep nafs busy and preoccupied, so that cannot pay attention to idrak aqli, intellectual thinking and understanding. How? Sometimes you are very much hungry. Your stomach is empty and you feel the pain of hunger. Or sometimes you have eaten just now, a heavy meal, and you want to do fikr, It doesn't work. Neither too hungry nor too full. We should, be choosing the right time. Ayatollah Hassan Zada Amoli says it's like, for example, salat. It's not good that you make your salat when your stomach is full. You should try to make your salat when your stomach is not making your nafs too much busy. So وفي أوقات لا تكون الأمور البدنية كالامتلاء والاستفراغ المفرطين وغيرهما شاغلة للنفس عن الإدراك العقلي. In times that bodily matters or affairs like امتلاء means to be full, or استفراغ means to be empty, المفرطين means الامتلاء المفرط, الاستفراغ المفرط, too full or too empty. وغيرهما, sometimes, for example, you are too thirsty, sometimes you are too tired, sometimes you are too sleepy, for example, too cold, too hot. These are times that are not very good for contemplation. Of course, depending on the strengths of the soul and training and Riyadha in the past, you may pass these things, and you may be reaching the point that even in very hot weather you can be very much focusing on your thinking. But to begin with, you should try to choose times which are more productive, unless you feel that you are not affected by these things. For your study, for your, for example, mubahasa, when you want to choose right time, also it's important to consider this time, especially for a study. Mubahasa is more interactive and more engaging. So even if you are, for example, hungry or sleepy, maybe with the help of mubahasa, you can keep awake and active. Although if you have other time, it's better to choose other times. But for a study and thinking, it's very important that you choose right time. فإن كثرة الاشتغال بمثل هذه الفكر تفيد النفس هيئة تعدها لإدراك المطالب بسهولة. If we are frequently engaged with this type of thinking and thoughts, fikr is plural for fikra. So if these afkar al-latifah keep coming to our nafs, and we engage with them, we develop them, we go around them, this kathrat al-ishtighal, this frequent engagement with these types of thoughts, give to nafs hayatan, a kind of form and a kind of structure that tu'idduha li'idrak al-matalib bisuhula, that prepares. I'dad means to prepare. A'adda yu'iddu i'dadan. Tu'idduha li'idrak al-matalib. This hay'a, this kind of shape that is given to the nafs, prepared nafs for understanding things easily. This is very important. Like, for example, in the same way that if you train your muscles, you can carry heavy goods more easily, or you can work long hours. The same is with your nafs. For ibadah, for fikr, for scientific work, you can train your nafs and prepare it. And here your nafs with this type of thinking become more and more prepared. Okay, this is about fikr al-latif. Can we go to the next page, please? The second thing is al-ishq al-afif. So the second thing that helps for taltif al-sir is al-ishq al-afif. So al-fikr al-latif was the first one, al-ishq al-afif. Ishq, love, but love which is afif, which is modest, not na'uzu billah, satanic love, which is not really love, but many times people have satanic, attractions or engagement, and they think it is love. Anyway, if you call it love, that's not ishq afif. Khwajah says, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ الْإِشْقَ الْإِنسَانِي يَنْقَسِمُ إِلَى حَقِيقِيٍّ وَإِلَى مَجَازِيٍّ. Human love is divided into two. One is true, real, which was discussed before. This is the love of Arif for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is majazi. Majazi means figurative, not real. And this by itself is divided into two. The only one that should and is ultimately loved is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, some mystics like Ibn Arabi, they say no one has ever loved anything other than God. Ibn Arabi says that if someone loves Zainab or Su'ad or Hind, they have loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but unknowingly maybe they love these people. Some people love, money, position. They all love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but unknowingly, unfortunately. And they think what they want, which is the absolute perfection in the form of power or, etc., they think it's coming from these mistaken things. So it's a mistake in tatbiq. They find perfection in these things. Perfection can be found in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have one ishq haqiqi, the real one, the true one, and majazi, the unreal or figurative one, which is divided to nafsani wa ila haywani. Nafsani is something which is related to human soul. Haywani is related to animal. And even if we have it, it's because of our animal soul. Because we have nafs nabati, nafs haywani, nafs natiqi. And human beings have all these three. There are things that we operate at the level of plants. There are things that we operate at the level of animals. There are things that we are supposed to operate at the level of human beings. Maybe some people that don't reach that level of human beings, but some people have all of them. Nabati, haywani, and nafs natiqi. So the one that is meant here by ishq afif is not haywani, is nafsani, and that is when the character of ma'shuq, of the beloved, is the reason for loving, not the body of the beloved, not the skin and color of the beloved. That becomes haywani. So النفساني هو الذي يكون مبدأه مشاكلة نفس العاشق لنفس المعشوق في الجوهر. This comma is not needed. مشاكلة نفس العاشق لنفس المعشوق في الجوهر. In nafsani love, the origin and the basis of this love is resemblance, mushakala, resemblance of the soul of the lover with the soul of the beloved in substance. Means they have deep, substantial similarities. You love someone or something that has some similarities with you, or you think you have similarities. Maybe sometimes, for example, a person loves someone mistakenly. There's no similarity really. After some time they realize that they didn't match. But when the love is there, it's because they thought there is similarity. I mentioned in some lectures, that this story that in Masnawi, Mawlavi says that a person went to Hakim, who was giving medicine, that give me a medicine for junoon, for madness. He said, why you want medicine for madness? You seem okay. He said, because on the way coming here, a mad person looked at me and smiled happily. This shows that that mad person must have found in me some degrees and some traces of madness, and this is why he was made happy. He found some similarity between me and himself, so I should treat myself. So there is always similarity. In Farsi we have this poem that we say, kalag means crow. Crows fly together. Eagles fly together. There must be a resemblance. So, مبدأه مشاكلة نفس العاشق لنفس المعشوق في الجوهر. In substance they have resemblance, similarity. ويكون أكثر إعجابه بشمائل المعشوق. Most of the إعجاب, إعجاب means to love something, to like something. So most of the surprise or love of lover is with respect to character of the beloved, because this is not haywani, it's nafsani. لأنها آثار صادرة عن نفسه, because these things that are traits of character are issued from nafs of that beloved. For example, a person loves knowledge. If for someone knowledge is very important, then looks for a beloved who has knowledge. If for someone, kindness is very important, looks for a beloved who is very kind. If for someone, patience is very important, looks for a beloved who is very patient. الحيواني هو الذي يكون مبدأه شهوة حيوانية. But animal love is the one whose principle, whose origin, whose basis is animal shahwa, lust or appetite. وطلب لذة بهيمية, and seeking animal pleasure, a pleasure that animals also experience. Animals don't experience pleasure coming from someone being knowledgeable or wise or patient, or having good qualities, virtuous, honest. Animals, they get pleasure from very lower level satisfactions. ويكون أكثر إعجاب العاشق بصورة المعشوق وخلقته ولونه وتخاطيط أعضائه. Most of the surprise of the lover and joy, enjoying and loving is coming with respect, is related or belongs to Surat al-Ma'shuq, to the form and shape of Ma'shuq, not character, not hidden qualities, something about the form, about khilqa, the way, for example, he or she is created, لونه, تخاطيط أعضائه, the organs, for example, the cheek, the eyes, I don't know, the lips, hands, you know, different things, different parts of the body which are attractive to the lover. لأنها أمور بدنية, because these are bodily things, and these are things that are important for this kind of lover. So we have two types of ishq majazi: ishq nafsani, ishq حيواني. الشيخ أشار بقوله بالعشق العفيف إلى الأول من المجازين or من المجازيين. Sheikh, by saying that ishq afif helps, he referred to the first one. It means nafsani, not the second one. Why? Because the second one is not helpful. لأن الثاني مما يقتضيه استيلاء النفس الأمارة وهو معين لها على استخدامها القوة العاقلة. عشق حیوانی is something that dominance of نفس أمارة brings it. يقتضيه, demands it. So nafs ammara is in control, and therefore this person has become lover in this way. And then this ishq وهو معين لها, it helps nafs ammara even more. So nafs ammara is already dominant, has produced this kind of love, and this love even helps nafs ammara further. To do what? Helps nafs ammara to do what? على استخدامها القوة العاقلة. That nafs ammara employs and takes control of قوة عاقلة. We were trying to do the opposite. We want to make nafs ammara obedient to nafs عاقلة. But this type of love is doing the reverse. وَيَكُونُ فِي الْأَكْثَرِ. This is a very important point. These people had great insight about all these issues. And you know, what they say here is not all their knowledge, you know. He says this type of love, animal love, which unfortunately is what we find, you know, in many of the films and, you know, movies, and, you know, unfortunately maybe today, I don't know, it seems that most of the entertainment industry and, you know, movies is maybe 60, 70, 80%, I don't know, God knows, is about this type of love, unfortunately, which is not real love. يكون في الأكثر مقارنا للفجور والحرص عليه. Most of the time this type of love is coming with sinning, with fujur, with fisq, with fujur. والحرص عليه, and greediness. When you put fuel on the fire of nafs ammara, then you think nafs ammara would be easily satisfied with limited people, with limited times, with limited space. They are not even happy to wait till they go home, or, you know, to go to a private place, on the street, on, I don't know, on the bus, you know, everywhere. They want to quickly satisfy themselves on that. With any person, if this reaches that point. I'm not saying everyone is in that situation, but it's a slippery road. So this nafs, ishq haywani, akthar, Khwajah says, in most of the cases is accompanied by fujur, by sinning, والحرص and greediness. والأول بخلاف ذلك. But the first one, which is for the good character of the beloved, is not like that. والأول بخلاف ذلك وهو يجعل النفس لينة شفيقة ذات وجد. The first one makes nafs layyan, soft and gentle. Shafiqa is, with a special kind of kindness and concern, not harsh, not aggressive. Shafiq, there's ishwaq. ذات وجد. Wajd, as we will inshallah see the next chapter. Wajd in Farsi, also in Arabic, many times we use wajd for joy. But the real meaning of, or original meaning of wajd is huzn. Zat wajdin means makes nafs sad. A kind of positive sadness. قلوبهم محزونة. One of the things that we find about muttaqin is that قلوبهم محزونة. Or for example, when they recite the Quran, يحزنون به أنفسهم. A kind of, this sadness is a kind of seriousness and a kind of positive sadness. Sadness is when you feel you are not perfect, you are not independent, therefore you are not arrogant. It's impossible to be sad and be 100% arrogant. At least you realize that you lack something. Otherwise, why you are sad? When you are happy, you may think you don't lack anything. You may. I'm not saying every happy person is like that, but there is a great chance. إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى. But it's very difficult that when people are poor think that they are independent. Therefore, Quran doesn't say إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه افتقر, but أن رآه استغنى. So there is a kind of huzn. Warriqqa. This is not waraqa, it's warriqqa. ذات وجد ذات وجد ورقة يعني ذات رقة. يجعل النفس. جعل has two مفعول, two objectives, two objects. يجعل النفس. نفس is مفعول أول. لينة مفعول دوم. شفيقة again is مفعول دوم. ذات وجد و رقة means ذات وجد و ذات رقة. ذات is منصوب. وجد is مضاف إليه is مجرور. رقة is عطف على وجد, so it's مجرور. رقة means tenderness. رقيق opposite to قليز. منقطعة عن الشواغل الدنيوية. Detached from worldly engagements that keep you busy. معرضة عما سوى معشوقه. This nafs would turn away from anything other than the beloved. جاعلة جميع الهموم هما واحدا. This is the, one of the characteristics of love. That love brings focus. And therefore those who are, normally in love, it's very difficult for them to pay attention to all the things. Unless lovers of Allah, that through Allah they can pay attention to other things. But those who love a person, for example, or a particular thing, every energy, every attention goes to the beloved. this in itself is good, because you can then switch it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it helps with concentration. It helps with inqita' amma siwa Allah. But provided that it leads to that. جاعلة جميع الهموم همًا واحدا. As I told you, Ayatollah Ahmad Imyadi used to read this hadith for us from Amir al-Mu'mineen, rahimallahu imra'an ja'ala hammahu hamman wahida. Ja'ala hammahu hamman wahida. May Allah's mercy be upon the one who makes his concern one concern. We should not have divided concerns. Under Allah, of course, we can have other things, but as much as possible, focusing on things. Even when we do religious work, if possible, as much as possible, we should bring it under one umbrella, if possible. ولذلك يكون الإقبال على المعشوق الحقيقي أسهل على صاحبه من غيره. Because of this lean, shafaqa, this inqita, this focus, then to pay attention to the real beloved, which is Allah, is easier. Ala sahibihi means ala sahib al-ishq al-nafsani min ghayri. The one that has this second type of ishq, not ishq haywani. The one who has this ishq al-nafsani, for him to move towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is easier. Why? Because he has already rejected and left many things, and now is focusing on one person. So from this person can move on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإنه لا يحتاج إلى الإعراض عن أشياء كثيرة. أشياء is غير متصرف and غير منصرف, sorry, therefore can not take kasra. It's أشياء كثيرة. So this person is easily able to do iqbal and turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he doesn't need to turn away from many things. Already is focused on one thing. وَإِلَيْهِ أَشَارَ مَنْ قَالَ. And to this point refers the one who has said. This, according to some sources, it is a hadith. For example, in Kanzul Ummal al-Muttaqi al-Hindi. Kanzul Ummal is one of the good collection of hadith by our Sunni brothers. The author is al-Muttaqi al-Hindi. He mentions something similar to this as a hadith. Man ashaqa wa affa wa katama wa mata shahida. Whoever falls in love but remains modest and hides the love. Sometimes that love, unfortunately, cannot be, or fortunately, it depends on the things, cannot be ending with the beloved connection and liqa with the beloved. But you have to remain modest, hide it, and if you die in this condition, you die as a martyr. Because this is very difficult experience. That normally when people fall in love, it's very difficult for them to remain in control of emotions and not to say anything wrong, not to do anything wrong, not to think about wrong things. If someone manages to do this, mata shahida. So we don't recommend people to experience this kind of ishq. Even I think ishq nafsani is not, maybe it's something that we can recommend, even if it is, for example, with love, for a great personality. But if someone experiences this, it may help actually that with one step, with one shift, maybe with one transformative incident, this person may be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when a lover falls in love with Allah, is different, because a lover is already focused and already has left dunya and everything else behind. So a little surgery is needed, but we don't recommend, because it's very difficult to reach that point and not to do, wrong things, and there's no guarantee that he would be switched. Okay, so this is our commentary by Khwajah and our explanation about that, about Riyadha. So al-Irada wal-Riyadha are two important things that Salik, the wayfarer, needs, the Salik towards high levels of Irfan. And actually we said al-Riyadha helps with al-Irada, makes your Irada stronger and makes you able to maintain, not that for few days you have interest and then you go away. Many people, out of the minority, of course, who go for Irfan. So there's a minority who go for Irfan, but many of them suffer lack of determination, lack of irada. For few days they are interested, for few years they are interested, but not committed for a long period of time. They are not steadfast, they are not persistent. Ayatollah Qadi Tabatabai, for 40 years, he didn't feel anything special. At least he says this. Maybe for him, he had high expectations, but he says, I had nothing, no experience. Although, for example, just one of the things he was doing was that for 26 years, he had some stone or stones in his mouth so that he would not speak unless necessary. And Ayatollah Hamadani said, that I asked Allah, why there is a sign of, a kind of a bruise, being bruised. And he didn't tell me. After some time, he told me that when I was young, for 26 years, I used to have a stone in my mouth. This person for 40 years didn't feel any opening. Akhund Mullah Hussein Quli Hamadani was, the teacher of Ayatollah Qadi, maybe the same, for many years. And then in the Haram had the experience of a bird that kept trying to take something from a dry piece of bread. So most of people, and I am very much worried about myself, I am not talking about anyone else, our problem is that we are not consistent and persistent. We knock the door 2-3 times and then we leave. If the door is not open, we leave. And we complain, why the door is not open to us. But you have to remain and knock the door till it is open. You should not go anywhere else, day and night, years after years, till Allah opens the door. And actually they say, those who are kept waiting more, there's a great chance that they get better things. Those who more quickly get things, sometimes because they are not prepared, they may lose it also easily, or they may be sidetracked. As soon as some mukashafat happens to them, they might be busy with that. So the later you receive and the harder you work, there is a chance that you will become more mature and more appreciative and get better results. In any case, out of a small minority of people who go for irfan, majority of them, they are not persistent. This is our problem. So maybe 1 in 1,000 or less than that go really for irfan, and then 99% of that 1 in 1,000 are not patient. Quickly, they want to get something, otherwise they leave. This is the problem. This is why those who are spiritual mentors, they won't easily accept people. Because the problem is also that if they are not remaining, sometimes it's better that they don't start anything. Because if they leave this half the way or at the beginning, it can be harmful for them. It can create problems. They can become arrogant, they can become proud, they can be confused. So sometimes it's better not to start than starting and leaving half the way. So we need irada, and irada needs riyada, needs exercise, needs training, undertaking some tasks and completing them. This is one of the best ways of increasing our willpower, to undertake tasks and make sure we deliver them, we complete them, even if it's a small thing. Any successful attempt gives us more confidence and strengthens our willpower. Any failure damages our confidence and willpower. Alhamdulillah, we as Muslims, and also other religious people, I'm not saying other people don't have this, but alhamdulillah, in Islam, at least I'm talking about Islam, we have this beautiful discipline, waking up in the morning for Fajr, then Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, fasting months of Ramadan. God knows if we didn't have at least, we are talking about ourselves. If we didn't have these disciplines in our life, what type of people we would have become? How much these give us discipline. And now if someone is, disciplined for nawafil, for other things. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to achieve this irada. And this needs also asking Allah to help us with undertaking riyada, religious riyada, reasonable riyada, but we need riyada. We cannot, bypass riyada. If it was possible to bypass riyada, awliyaullah and prophets would have easily reached, but no one has easily reached. We need all riyada. After this, then Ibn Sina starts with al-waqt. The next thing is al-waqt. Some of you who have already attended the course on Introduction to Islamic Philosophy, Islamic Mysticism by Ayatollah Mutahhari, you remember we talked about all these things. So you may have some background. Some of you might be for the first time reading this text. So here Ibn Sina says, after having irada and riyada for some time, haddamma, so up to certain limit, not just a little. After you have this for certain time and certain limit, then some khalasat, Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh says, khalasat are the same as jadabat. Some attractions happen. The reason they call it khalasat is because khalasa means to steal, to rob. Things happen that take you with them. It's like they rob you. Not they rob money from you, they rob you and your attention. You can say like attraction. But these are from من اطلاع نور الحق عليه. The light of Allah is projected on them and takes them with itself. You cannot resist that light. People who are blind, they don't feel anything. But the people who have basira, the people whose eyes are open, and now they have done taltif sir, they have made nafs ammara obedient to nafs aghile, then that light is reaching their heart and is influencing them. And this is also giving them pleasure. لذيذة. These are like flashes of light that happen and then they stop. A flash comes and stops. These moments and these experiences are called waqt. Waqt means time, but here we mean by waqt this kind of experiences. And every waqt is surrounded with two wajd, two huzn. Before receiving it, you are sad why you don't have it. When you receive it, you are sad that you may lose it. So there is wajdun ilayhi wa wajdun alayhi. Wajdun ilayhi means you are sad towards it because you miss it, you are waiting for it. Why nothing happens? Or you have had it before, you are missing it, why I don't have it again? Wa wajdun alayhi, you are sad that you may lose it. When you have it also you are sad. And then this can repeat and become more frequent if the person continues in Riyadah. The more you have Riyadah, the more you monitor yourself and check yourself, check your words, check your thoughts, the more frequent you have these flashes of light of Allah on you. So this is what Ibn Sina says, and then Khwajah explains. I think we leave it inshallah for the next time. So I will read the text of Ibn Sina and the commentary of Khwajah inshallah next week bi'iznillah. And I would like to refer to a story about love by Mawlavi, that in some of my lectures I have mentioned this story. So this can be a good conclusion for our discussion about love. Mawlavi has a famous story, and he says that there was a king that wanted a girl, but that girl was very ill. And although the king had all the doctors and things in the country at his disposal, no one could really treat that woman. So he is married to that woman, that girl, but she is ill. After missing, losing hope in these ordinary physicians, he made some dua and some munajat, and then he was informed, maybe in dream, that a sage, a hakim, an old person who is wise is going to pass by, and you should ask him for help. So the king himself went outside. Instead of sending his people, he went outside the palace to find this person. Rumi says بود اندر منظره شه منتظر. So the king was himself waiting and looking. تا ببیند آنچه بنمودند سر. So that that secret that they showed him, now he would find it in reality. دید شخصی فاضلی پرمایه‌ای آفتابی در میان سایه‌ای. Then he met that person who was very virtuous, very much پرمایه, very rich. He was a sun in the shadow. So the king went to him and talked to him and explained the situation. That wise person said that I should examine this woman. So Mawlavi says رنگ و رو و نبض و قاروره بدید هم علاماتش هم اسبابش شنید. So he tested that woman, the color, heart beating, everything he tested and examined. Symptoms, alamat, asbab, the causes, everything he examined. گفت هر دارو که ایشان کرده اند آن عمارت نیست ویران کرده اند. He said all the medicines that the previous physicians have given were not helpful. They have actually harmed. عمارت نیست means they didn't develop, they didn't build anything. ویران کردن, they have destroyed. Because they thought that this woman has a physical illness. So they gave medicine for body. But her body was okay. She had another issue. He realized that she was in love. And the beloved was away. And she is in pain because of being separated from the beloved. She doesn't have interest in the king. عاشقی پیداست از زاری دل نیست بیماری چو بیماری دل. Those who have illness of the heart, a kind of psychological illness, especially if their heart is with something, they are different from people who have bodily or physical illness. And Mawlavi says this couplet, which has become very, very famous. هرچه گویم عشق را شرح و بیان چون به عشق آیم خجل باشم از آن. No matter how much I explain love, when I reach love, I am embarrassed. I have not done justice to love. Love is something which is very difficult to explain. If it is possible, it's at least very difficult. Maybe it's not possible even to describe fully. عقل در شرحش چو خر در گل بخفت. Imagine a donkey that wants to move and there is a heavy rain and the soil has become clay and this donkey cannot move and is somehow stuck. He says عقل, our reason wants to explain love is like that donkey which is stuck in the clay. Of course, you must know that Rumi has some tendency against aql. I see some positive points in his position, but I think he was exaggerating, and he was, for example, saying that aql is like a wooden leg, it's not a real leg. Anyway, but it is true that it's very difficult to explain love, especially if you want to use aql only. you have to experience. What we have in Islam is that aql and heart should work together. شرح عشق و عاشقی هم عشق گفت. He says, don't expect aql to explain love and lover. Love can explain love and lover. Anyway, this wise person asked this woman, where are you from? Which city are you from? Because every person, depending on which city they are from, there can be different treatments for them. نرم نرمک گفت شهر تو کجاست که علاج اهل هر شهری جداست. So little by little said, where are you from? Didn't want to say it directly because then she could have, maybe lied or whatever. Said, treatments of people of every city can be different. وندر آن شهر از قرابت کیستت خویشی و پیوستگی با چیستت. Then in that city that you are from, who are your relatives and kins and with whom you have relations? And when he was also holding the hand of this woman and mentioning names of different cities, then realized that when the name of Samarkand is mentioned, the heart beating was different. نبض جست و روی سرخ و زرد شد که از سمرقندی زرگر فرد شد. So mentioned the name of city of Samarkand. She changed, heart beating changed. Then different parts of the city then realized that in the place that people who sell gold, again she changed. So he realized that she has fallen in love with a man who is selling gold with zargar in the city of Samarkand. And therefore he said to the king that you must call that zargar. مرد زرگر را بخوان زان شهر دور با زر و خلعت بده او را غرور. Call that person, he may not come, but give him gold, give him khal'at, the dress of honor that kings, used to give. Make sure that he comes. Anyway, they offered him these things and he came. Then he said to the king that you must, leave this woman. For example, if was married to you, divorce her and make sure that she marries this man. So this woman married to that man. For about 6 months they lived together and this woman became all right. No illness. After 6 months, that Hakim said, now we should put, he put some medicine, some chemicals in the food of that man, and that man then lost the beauty. For example, became pale, and so because lost the beauty, that woman no longer loved him. And he says, چون که زشت و ناخوش و رخ زرد شد اندک اندک در دل او سرد شد. Because this man became ugly and pale and not well, little by little the fire of love in that woman's heart became cool. And then he says this poem. This couplet is also very famous. عشق هایی که از پی رنگی بود عشق نبود عاقبت ننگی بود. Those types of love which is because of color, these are not love. They later would become or turn to shame. Nang. It's not love. So rang and nang in Farsi, they have good kind of match. Color and shame. And then he says that that man, when saw that the woman is no longer, loving him, said that دشمن طاووس آمد پر او ای بسی شهر را بکشته means بکشته بکشته فر او. It says that peacock, enemy of peacock is her feathers which are very beautiful. Because of the beautiful feathers, people hunt and maybe kill peacock. So many kings, because of their power and large territory, enemies try to attack them. So sometimes beauty, sometimes success, sometimes fame become your enemies. And this person, his beauty became his enemy. So there are many things about this story. The main point perhaps is that we should distinguish between real love and pseudo love, superficial love. And we should know the power of love. And we should know that love has a great impact on the body and the soul. And also there are other issues. For example, one issue is that some people say how this person who was Hakim gave a medicine to this person, that this person became ill, for example, and died. Rumi was aware of this question, and he says او نکشتش از برای طبع شاه تا نیامد امر و الهام اله. He didn't kill him because king wanted solution. This Hakim didn't do this unless he had permission from God. So he wants to say it's like the story of Khizr and Musa, that Khizr had a permission, or a story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Anyway, these are things that he had thought about them carefully. And sometimes, we mention one story, people think about other issues, but he had all of them in mind. And then interpreters of Masnavi have said that actually this, like Salaman and Absal that we talked, they said that maybe this story is symbolic, and maybe king stands for our spirit, and that young woman is our nafs, but that young man is the body and dunya. Nafs was attracted to dunya, and the spirit wanted the nafs to come towards itself, needed help, and that Hakim was Qawwiyya Aqileh, who helped. So this is a beautiful interpretation. In any case, I just wanted to mention that in our mystical literature, the issue of love and different types of love are very much discussed, and part of the reason is to help us distinguish between genuine love and pseudo love, and part of it is to help us develop love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the easiest and fastest and shortest way towards Allah is through love. That's the best way, through love. Of course, this needs knowledge, this needs ibadah, taqwa, but in the end of the day, we must feel great love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why in dua we say, Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbaka wa hubba man yuhibbuka wa hubba kulla amalin yusaluni ilayk. May Allah inshallah grant us this love. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.